The huge alien ship appeared in the sky above Earth without warning. It was bigger than anything humans had ever built, shining like silver in the morning sun. Smaller ships flew around it like bees around their queen. People all over Earth looked up and felt afraid. News channels showed the same scene. Leaders called emergency meetings. The world held its breath. "This is Grand Emissary Krax of the Galactic Empire," a deep voice announced over all radio and TV channels. "We come to bring Earth into our great family of worlds." In Seoul, the United Earth Council gathered quickly. Men and women in formal clothes sat around a large table, their faces serious. "They have weapons pointed at our major cities," said Defense Minister Han. He showed images on the big screen. "Our best missiles would do nothing against their shields." Diplomat Jun stood up. He was tall and thin with gray hair and calm eyes. "We must meet them. Show them we are peaceful." "What choice do we have?" asked someone. Jun looked at each person in the room. "We always have choices." 6 hours later, Jun and 5 other diplomats stood on the roof of the Seoul World Tower. The wind blew their hair as a small alien ship landed in front of them. It made no sound, which seemed impossible for something so big. A door opened, and 3 aliens walked out. They looked almost human, but their skin was pale blue and their eyes were too large. They wore shining armor that seemed to move like water. "I am Krax," said the tallest one. His voice was smooth but cold. "You are fortunate. The Empire has decided your world is worth adding to our collection." Jun bowed slightly. "We are honored to meet beings from another world. I am Jun, speaking for Earth." Krax did not bow back. "Our ships have been watching your television and radio signals for years. You humans talk much about peace. You fear war. This is good. Peaceful species are easy to manage." Jun kept his face calm, but his fingers tightened around the pen in his hand. He clicked it 3 times, a silent signal to those watching. "Please come inside," Jun said. "We have prepared a meeting room." Inside the tower, Krax sat at the head of the table without being invited. The other aliens stood behind him. He touched a small device on his wrist, and a 3D map of the galaxy appeared in the air. "This is the Empire," Krax said, pointing to a huge area of the map colored purple. 2,000 worlds. Millions of ships. Technologies you cannot imagine. He looked at the humans with his large eyes. "And this tiny dot is your solar system." "We are a young species," Jun said. "Yes. And now you will serve the Empire. We require resources from your planet. We require workers for our factories. You will be given food and basic comforts in return." The room was silent. Jun looked at his fellow diplomats. Their faces showed shock and anger. "You speak not of friendship, but of making us slaves," Jun said quietly. Krax laughed. "Call it what you wish. These are our terms. You have 3 of your Earth days to agree, or we will take what we want anyway." He stood up. "We have studied your wars. You drop your weapons at the first sign of defeat. You value individual lives over victory. The Empire does not respect such weakness." After the aliens left, the council room exploded with voices. "They think we're weak," shouted Minister Han. Jun walked to a small panel on the wall. He placed his hand on it, and a hidden door opened. "They see what we have shown the world, but not everything is in the open." He entered a code on a keypad inside. "Protocol Shadowblade is now active," said a computer voice. "What is that?" asked a young diplomat. "Something the Empire won't expect," Jun said. His eyes were no longer calm but sharp like steel. "They think humans fear war. They should fear what we hide in the shadows." Far below the city, in a base deep underground, a red light began to flash. Men and women in black uniforms moved quickly. One man stood perfectly still as others suited up around him. On his chest was a single symbol, a red ninja star. The Ninja Corps was awakening. Deep below the city, Master Taehyun walked through the underground base. His steps were silent despite the metal floor. Though he was over 70 years old, he moved like a young man. His face showed the marks of time, but his eyes were sharp and clear. The ninja core base was huge. It stretched for miles under the ground. Most people on Earth did not know it existed. That was how it needed to be. Taehyun stopped at a large window and looked down. In a big room below, 30 men and women trained. They moved faster than seemed possible. They climbed walls, disappeared into shadows, and fought with strange weapons. "Master," said a voice behind him. Taehyun did not turn around. He had heard the person coming long before they spoke. "Hyun, you have come quickly." Hyun bowed. He was 27 years old with short black hair and a face that people easily forgot. This was useful in his work. He wore a simple black uniform with no marks or badges. He did not need them. Everyone in the Corps knew who he was. "The aliens have come," Taehyun said. "The day we prepared for is here." After the terrible wars of the past, the world's leaders had met in secret. They signed a paper that few people ever saw. The world would show a face of peace to the stars, but behind that face, they would build a shield. The Ninja Corps was born. "Come," said Taehyun. They walked to a small room with a round table. On the table was a ball of light showing the alien mothership. "It is huge," Hyun said. "Yes, and their weapons could destroy our cities in minutes." Taehyun touched the light ball. It changed to show the inside of the alien ship. "This is what our spy drones have seen before they were found and destroyed. We need to know more. Much more." Hyun understood at once. "You want me to go inside their ship?" "Yes. You are the best we have, Hyun. I would not ask this if there was another way." Hyun nodded. He felt no fear, only a calm readiness. He had trained for this his whole life. Hyun remembered when he was only 6 years old. His parents had died in an accident. Master Taehyun had found him and brought him to the court. "You have a gift," the old man had told him. "You can become like the shadow itself." For 21 years, Hyun had trained harder than anyone. He learned to move without sound, to fight with any weapon, to use the newest tech, and to trust the oldest skills. He broke bones and fixed them. He went without sleep for days. He learned to slow his heart until people thought he was dead. "How will I get on their ship?" Hyun asked. Taehyun walked to a wall. He put his hand on it, and the wall opened. Inside was a black suit unlike any Hyun had seen before. "This is the shadow skin," Taehyun said. "Our best scientists made it. It bends light around you. It hides your body heat. It makes no sound when you move." Hyun touched the suit. It felt like water but was solid. "It has only been tested 3 times, Taehyun said. 2 test pilots died. And the third is still missing." Hyun took the suit without hesitation. "When do I leave?" "Tonight. A small ship will take you close. Then you must reach their mothership on your own." Taehyun put his hand on Hyun's shoulder. "Find out their plans. Learn their weaknesses. But do not fight unless you have no choice. You are our eyes, not our sword." Hyun bowed again. "I understand, Master." As Hyun left to prepare, Taehyun looked at the light ball showing the alien ship. His old eyes narrowed. "You think humans fear war," he whispered to the image of the ship. "You do not understand us at all. We fear war because we know how good we are at it." In his room, Hyun opened a small box. Inside was an old ninja star made of metal. It had belonged to his father. He put it in his pocket. The time for shadows had come. The small human ship moved silently through space. It looked like space junk, just another piece of trash floating near Earth. The Empire did not give it a second look. Inside, Hyun checked his shadow skin one last time. The black material covered him from head to toe. Only his eyes showed. "We are as close as we can get," said the pilot. "Any closer and they will see us." Hyun nodded. He put on his helmet and air pack. "Open the door." The door opened. Cold space waited outside. Hyun took a deep breath and pushed himself out. He floated away from the ship. The Empire's mothership was huge in front of him. It was the size of a small city. Lights blinked all over its surface like stars. Hyun pressed a button on his wrist. Small jets on his suit fired. They were almost silent and gave off no heat that the aliens could detect. Slowly, he moved toward the giant ship. It took 2 hours to reach it. Hyun landed softly on the outer hull. His special gloves and boots stuck to the metal. He walked across the side of the ship like a spider. "I am on the hull," he whispered into his radio, looking for a way in. He found it near a set of big engines, a small door where repair robots came and went. Hyun waited until one robot left. Then he slipped inside before the door closed. He was in. The air was different, but his suit protected him. The gravity was a little stronger than Earth, but his training had prepared him for that. Hyun moved through tight passages where only robots were meant to go. The shadow skin worked perfectly. Twice, alien repair crews passed right by him without seeing him. Soon he found his way to bigger hallways. Aliens walked here and there. They were all blue-skinned with big eyes. Some were clearly soldiers. They wore the same moving armor that Krax had worn on Earth. Hyun slipped from shadow to shadow. He planted tiny spy devices as he went. They would send signals back to Earth about the ship's layout. After 3 hours of careful movement, Hyun found something important: a data room. 5 aliens sat at screens, looking at information. Hyun waited by the door. When one alien left, Hyun slipped in behind another who was entering. He stood in a corner, completely still. The shadow skin bent light around him. To the aliens, he was just part of the wall. The screens showed maps of Earth, lists of resources, pictures of cities. The aliens were planning which parts of Earth to take first. One screen showed something that made Hyun's blood turn cold. Pictures of 17 other planets. Each one had been taken over by the Empire. Some still had fighting on them. Others were completely under control. Billions of people now worked for the Empire as almost slaves. "The humans will be easier than the Dorvac," said one alien to another. "The Dorvac fought for 20 years before they gave up. Humans will give up in days." "I'm not sure," said the second alien. "Something about their history bothers me." "You worry too much. Their own broadcasts show how they hate war. They are soft." Hyun wanted to show them how wrong they were right then. But that was not his mission. He had to learn, not fight. A door opened on the far side of the room. A human woman walked in. She had black hair and wore the clothes of the Empire. Hyun almost gasped in surprise. "Translator Mayung," said one of the aliens. "Come look at these human cities. Which should we take first?" The woman called Mayung walked to the screen. Her face showed no emotion. "This one has the most resources," she said, pointing to a city in America. Hyun could not believe it. A human working for the Empire. A traitor to Earth. He needed to find out more about this woman. But first, he had to get deeper into the ship. The real secrets would be near the center. As the aliens talked, Hyun slipped out the door again. The Empire still had no idea that death itself walked their halls. Grand Emissary Krax sat in his large chair on the bridge of the mothership. Screens around him showed different parts of Earth. He watched them with bored eyes. "Such a simple planet," he said. "They still use fossil fuels and have borders between their countries. Primitive." Commander Draz stood nearby. He was shorter than Krax, but more muscular. His uniform had many medals on it. He had fought in 30 wars for the Empire. "We should not judge them too quickly," Draz said. "Their history shows they can fight hard when pushed." Krax laughed. "Their history also shows they grow tired of war quickly. They make peace even when they could win. Weakness. I call it wisdom," Draz said quietly. Krax waved his hand. "Bring in the human translator. I want to know more about their weak points." Mayung entered the bridge and bowed to Krax. She wore the blue uniform of an Imperial helper. Her face showed no feelings. "Tell me, human," Krax said. "What will your leaders do now?" "They will argue," Myung said. "Some will want to fight. Others will want to give in. They will waste time talking while you prepare." Krax smiled. His teeth were very white and slightly pointed. "Good. And what do they fear most?" "Death of civilians," Myung said. "If you target cities, they will give up quickly to save lives." Draz frowned. "That does not match what I have read about Earth's world wars. Humans fought on, even when cities burned." Myung turned to him. "That was long ago. Humans have grown softer. They value each life now." Hidden in an air vent above them, Hyun watched and listened. He had followed Myung to the bridge. Now he knew she was telling the aliens about Earth's weaknesses, but something felt wrong about her words. Krax stood up and walked to a big screen showing Earth. 3 days. Then we take what we want. He turned to a blue-skinned female at a control panel. "Prepare a demonstration of our power. Something small but scary." "Yes, sir," she said. "Target. Their base on Mars. It's small but important to them. We will destroy it tomorrow to show what happens if they resist." Draz looked troubled. "A demonstration may unite them against us." "No," Krax said. "It will make them beg for mercy." He turned to Myung. "You are dismissed." Myung bowed again and left the bridge. Hyun noticed something strange. As soon as the door closed behind her, Myung's face changed. She looked angry and worried. Hyun followed her through the ship's vents. She went to her small room and locked the door. Then she took out a device from under her bed and spoke into it. "They plan to attack Mars tomorrow. A demonstration. I could not stop it. Tell Earth to evacuate the base if possible." Hyun almost fell from his hiding spot. Myung was not a traitor. She was a spy like him. She hid the device again and sat on her bed. "I've told them humans are soft and fear death," she said to herself. "I hope it makes them overconfident. But will it be enough?" Hyun wanted to reveal himself to her, to tell her she was not alone. But that would risk both their missions. He had to stay hidden. He crawled away through the vents. He needed to find the weapon systems. If the Empire was going to attack Mars tomorrow, maybe he could do something about it. As he moved, Hyun thought about what he had seen. The Empire thought humans were weak because they valued peace. They did not understand that sometimes the most peaceful people make the most dangerous warriors. The Empire would learn soon. Hyun would make sure of it. Hyun crawled through the tight spaces of the ship for hours. His body ached, but his mind stayed sharp. The ship was huge and finding the weapons controls was not easy. He followed power lines that ran through the walls. They would lead to the big energy systems, and the biggest energy user would be the main weapons. Finally, he found it. A large room with glowing panels and screens. 10 aliens worked at different stations. In the center was a model of Mars that floated in the air. A red dot blinked on it. The human base. Hyun watched from a vent high in the wall. Guards stood at each door. Getting inside would be nearly impossible, even with his shadow skin. "Weapons test in 2 hours," said one alien. "Full power to the main cannon." Hyun thought quickly. He could not fight 10 aliens and the guards. But maybe he didn't need to fight. He moved back through the vents until he found a quiet corner. He took out a small tool kit from his belt. Inside were tiny devices that the courts had given him. They looked like small metal bugs. "Time to cause some trouble," he whispered. Hyun returned to the weapons room. He watched and waited. When the aliens were busy looking at their screens, he dropped 3 metal bugs into the room. They fell silently to the floor. The bugs crawled to different parts of the room. One went to a power panel. One went under a computer. The third climbed up a cable to the main controls. Hyun pressed a button on his wrist. The bugs would now wait for his signal. He left the weapons room and made his way to the bridge. He needed to see what happened when they tried to fire. The bridge was full of aliens now. Krax sat in his big chair. Draz stood beside him, looking worried. Screens showed Mars getting closer as the ship moved toward it. "The human base has detected us," said a crew member. "They are sending messages to Earth." "Let them watch," Krax said with a smile. "Let them see what happens when they refuse our generous offer." Hyun found a spot where he could hide behind some equipment. The shadow skin kept him invisible, but if anyone bumped into him, they would feel him. "We are in range," said another alien. "Weapons are ready." "Fire," Krax ordered. Hyun pressed the button on his wrist. The metal bugs activated. The ship suddenly shook. Alarms began to sound. The lights flickered. "What is happening?" Krax shouted. "Weapons malfunction," yelled a crew member. "Power surge in the main system." On the screens, everyone could see what happened. The ship had fired, but the beam went wild. Instead of hitting the Mars base, it hit an empty area far away. A huge explosion of red dust rose from the planet's surface. "Fix it," Krax screamed. "Fire again." "We can't," said the weapons officer. "Systems are shutting down to prevent damage. It will take hours to reset." Draz looked around the bridge carefully. His eyes narrowed. "This was not an accident," he said quietly. Krax turned to him with angry eyes. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying someone may have sabotaged our weapons," Draz replied. "Someone who doesn't want us to destroy that base." "Impossible. No one could get on this ship without us knowing." Draz wasn't so sure. He walked around the bridge, looking into corners and dark spots, as if he could sense something was wrong. Hyun stayed completely still. The shadow skin hid him, but he knew Draz was smart. One wrong move, and he would be discovered. "Search the ship," Draz ordered. "Check all systems for signs of tampering." As crew members rushed to obey, Hyun knew he had to move. The Empire now knew they had an intruder. The hunt would begin. But he had done it. The Mars base was safe for now, and the Empire's big show of power had failed in front of everyone. Hyun smiled under his mask. The ninja had struck his first blow. Alarms rang throughout the ship. Red lights flashed in every hallway. Squads of armed aliens rushed back and forth, checking every room, every corner. Hyun pressed himself into a narrow space between two large pipes. His shadow skin helped hide him, but it wasn't perfect. If someone looked directly at him or touched him, they would know he was there. "Find the saboteur." Krax's angry voice came over the ship's speakers. "Search every part of this ship." Hyun needed to move. Staying in one place was dangerous. But moving was dangerous too. He waited until no aliens were nearby, then slipped out from his hiding spot. He crawled into an air vent and pulled the cover closed behind him. The vents were his best way to move around now, but even they weren't safe anymore. "Check the ventilation system," Draz ordered over the radio. "Use heat sensors." Hyun froze. Heat sensors would find him even with the shadow skin. He needed a new plan. At that moment, a maintenance robot rolled past him in the hallway. It was heading to fix something. Hyun had an idea. He dropped from the vent and landed silently behind the robot. With quick hands, he opened its back panel and found its small computer brain. A few wire changes, and the robot was his. Hyun climbed inside the robot's storage compartment. It was a tight fit, but he made it work. Now the robot's heat signature would hide his own. The robot continued on its way, rolling past groups of searching aliens. None of them looked twice at it. It was just another machine doing its job. Inside, Hyun checked his map of the ship. He needed to find a safe place to hide and plan his next move. He also needed to contact Earth somehow. The robot carried him to a quiet area of the ship, a storage section where spare parts were kept. Hyun slipped out and found a dark corner behind some boxes. He took out a small device from his belt, a signal jumper. If he could connect it to the ship's communication system, he could send a message to Earth. The human agent should be considered dangerous. Draz's voice came over the speakers. "We don't know how they got on board or what their capabilities are." In another part of the ship, Mayan was being questioned. 3 aliens stood around her in a small room. "Where were you when the weapons malfunctioned?" one asked. "In my quarters," she answered calmly. "You can check the door logs. And you know nothing about any other humans on this ship." "Of course not. How would I know such a thing?" Her face showed nothing, but inside, her heart beat fast. There was another human agent on board. Earth had sent someone else. Meanwhile, Draz walked alone in a quiet corridor. He stopped suddenly and looked at the wall. Something didn't feel right. He reached out his hand and touched the metal surface. "I know you're there," he said softly. "Somewhere on this ship. I can feel it." He was right. Hyun was only 2 levels below, working to connect his signal jumper to a communication panel. "Almost done," Hyun whispered to himself. The device blinked green. Connection made. Now he could send a short burst of data to Earth. Information about the ship's weapons, shields, and crew size. Just as he finished, he heard footsteps. Someone was coming. Hyun quickly disconnected the jumper and moved behind a large container. Commander Draz walked into the room. He looked around slowly, his eyes scanning every shadow. He stopped right in front of where Hyun was hiding. For a long moment, neither moved. Hyun didn't even breathe. Then Draz spoke in a voice so quiet that only someone very close could hear. "I know you're here, human, and I need to talk to you." Hyun stayed frozen in place. Was it a trick? "I'm alone," Draz continued, "and I'm not your enemy. The Empire is not what it seems." Hyun had a choice to make: stay hidden or reveal himself. Either choice could end his mission, or change it completely. The stars went dark. Massive ships from the stellar concordance filled the space around Earth, their hulls gleaming like angry metal monsters. Millions of weapon ports opened, ready to destroy everything in their path. Admiral Krelvac stood on the main bridge of his flagship, a huge smile spreading across his scaled face. He believed this was the moment humanity would finally be crushed. Jack Woodpark watched the incoming fleet from Earth's main defense center. His fingers moved quickly over holographic screens, his eyes calm and focused. Around him, young technicians and military experts waited with tight faces. Nobody spoke. The silence was heavy with tension. "Activate quantum defense grid," HFY said quietly. Suddenly, something strange happened. The massive alien ships started to change. Their perfect battle formations began to break apart. Weapons that were supposed to fire became useless. Engines that should have pushed the ships forward suddenly stopped working. This was not normal warfare. This was something entirely different. Earth's defense system was unlike anything the Concordance had ever seen. It wasn't just about big guns or strong shields. It was about understanding and predicting every single move before it could happen. Tiny robot networks spread through space, reading energy signatures, tracking movement patterns, and changing the battlefield faster than any living brain could think. Each alien ship had hundreds of weak points. The human system found these points in milliseconds. A small change in energy here, a tiny shift in magnetic field there. And suddenly a warship became nothing more than a floating piece of metal. Admiral Krelvac couldn't believe his eyes. His most advanced warships were becoming useless. Massive guns that could destroy entire planets were now nothing more than expensive decorations. His carefully planned invasion was falling apart before it even began. "How is this possible?" he shouted, his voice filled with anger and fear. On Earth, HFY continued to work. His hands moved like a musician playing a complex song. Each touch on the screen was a note, each command a perfect melody of destruction. He wasn't just fighting. He was solving a complex puzzle, and the puzzle was the entire alien invasion fleet. Quantum computers worked faster than thought. They could predict what an enemy would do before the enemy even knew. Imagine playing chess, but you could see every possible move your opponent might make, and block them all before they even happen. That was how Earth's defense worked. The Concordance ships started to drift. Some crashed into each other. Others simply stopped moving. Weapons that cost millions of credits became useless pieces of metal. Soldiers who thought they were going to win a big battle now looked confused and scared. HFY didn't smile. He didn't celebrate. This was not a game. This was protection. This was showing the galaxy that humanity would defend itself, but not because it wanted war. It wanted peace, a peace built on understanding and smart thinking. As the last alien ships became silent in space, a new message was sent. Not a message of victory, but a message of hope. Humanity had shown its strength, but it would use that strength to create something better. The battle was over, but the real work was just beginning. Admiral Krelvax was not someone who gave up easily. After the massive failure of his first attack, he gathered what remained of the Stellar Concordance's military power. This was going to be the final push. He would make humans pay for embarrassing his entire civilization. On a dark planet far from Earth, Krelvax assembled his last hope. Thousands of ships packed with the most advanced weapons in the galaxy stood ready. Soldiers from hundreds of different alien races waited for the final command. Some looked brave. Some looked scared. But all of them knew this was the last chance to stop humanity. HFY Park sat in the Earth Defense Command Center. He knew this attack was coming. The quantum networks had been tracking the enemy's movements for weeks. Every ship, every weapon, every possible path was already mapped out in the complex computer systems. "They're coming," he said to his team. His voice was calm. No fear, no excitement, just a simple statement of fact. The first wave of Concordant ships entered the solar system. They moved like a massive dark cloud, blocking out the stars. Millions of weapon ports opened. Huge energy cannons charged up. The entire fleet looked like a giant metal monster ready to destroy everything. But humans were ready. As the alien fleet approached, something unexpected happened. The space around Earth seemed to change. It wasn't just about defense anymore. It was about total control of the battlefield. Tiny robotic networks spread out. They weren't just blocking attacks. They were changing the very nature of space itself. Gravity fields twisted. Energy paths bent in impossible ways. Ships that thought they were moving in straight lines suddenly found themselves going in circles. Krelvax watched in horror. His carefully planned attack was falling apart before his eyes. Ships started to crash into each other. Weapons that should have worked perfectly became useless. The massive invasion force was destroying itself. "This is impossible," he screamed, his scaled fists hitting the control panel. HFY's strategy was simple but brilliant. Humans didn't just want to win. They wanted to show the galaxy that war was stupid. Each move was designed to stop the attack with minimum damage. Alien ships were redirected. Weapons were made safe. No unnecessary destruction. Some ships were simply stopped in space. Others were gently pushed away from the battle zone. The quantum defense system worked like a perfect shield, but it was more than just a shield. It was a way of solving problems without creating more problems. As the battle continued, something strange happened. Alien soldiers started to realize they were being protected, not attacked. Ships that should have been destroyed were carefully guided to safety. Weapons that could have killed millions were made harmless. Krelvax understood then that he had made a big mistake. Humans were not just another species to be conquered. They were something completely different, a civilization that could win a war without actually fighting a war. The last of the Concordant ships drifted away, not destroyed, not defeated, but completely broken as a fighting force. Their technology, their weapons, their entire military system had been shown to be useless against human intelligence. HFY watched the last ships move away. He didn't celebrate. This was not a victory to be proud of. This was a lesson that needed to be learned. War was never the answer. The breaking point had been reached, and humanity had shown the galaxy a new way of solving problems.